Hey, welcome back everyone to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 181, celebrating 1 year of the Black Brain Trust, and also happy 420. I'm here with my co-facilitators, Lionel, MOT, Complex Design, and Wilsonian Garfiite. What's going on, brothers?
How you doing today, Mike? How you doing today, MOT? How you doing today, Complex? How you doing today, Wilsonia?
I'm good,
Welcome,
brothers.
brothers. Good to be in good company.
What's going? Yes, sir. Haiti here. All right. Complex Design stepped away for a second, so we immediately got a thumbs down. Interesting. So, yeah, Rainy Woman, thank you. Thank you for the congratulations. So I just wanted to kind of kick it off. We've been around, just for 1 year, obviously by the title. And when we started, we kind of knew what we wanted to do, and we didn't think it was going to go all the way to where we are today. Um, the way we structured the hangouts, the way we sounded in the beginning versus today, the changes in the microphones and other sort of components and other strategies of how we want to run the hangout actually has been beneficial to us. And to see that we broke 1,000 just at the cusp of the 1 year mark, we feel good about where we started and where we are right now, and how we got here. So, want to congratulate all the brothers on the panel who contributed, and actually, and those in the past who had contributed as well. Um, and also want to thank our newest and first female member, which would be Nicole Ali. She's been a part of this as well, in her contributions on her own channel. So thank you all. I know you have anything you want to say to that?
Oh yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for giving us positive comments. I'd like to thank everybody that's been there for the past year. A lot of us on the panel have already been here since either the first day, first week, first few months. And for those that who were in the chat, hope you all learned a lot from what we talk about on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturdays. Also, hope you all learn more than what you've known before looking at the show, and were able to disseminate the information to other people that's in your immediate circle that you speak to about these topics, also, or enlighten them also on these topics.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people may not know, but we all met each other on, in some way, shape, or form, on Black Gnostics platform on BGS Ibmore. So that's how we got here.
What's going on, everyone?
Complex, what's going on, brother?
Not
Happy
much, man.
420.
Yeah. Happy 420, folks. And happy anniversary to the Brain Trust. I want to salute all of my cohorts here, all the brothers who contribute, not only on the panels, but in the chat, in the email chain. Man, the last year has definitely been a year of expansion, especially for me, being able to connect with all the brothers on the panel here, brothers like Lionel, who not only is just a cohort, but is also someone who's actively involved in the business side with a lot of what we got going on. It feels really good to be able to share ideas, strategize, and also collaborate with each other. So I just want to salute the brothers on the panel, the brothers in the chat, brothers in the email chain. Y'all know who y'all are, man. Just let's keep it moving.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Sony and Gavier, would you like to add anything in this? You've been around since the BGS days, so you can say your piece in 30 seconds. All right, I think he's having mic issues. I think he's having mic issues. Man of Tomorrow, please jump in.
Yes. No, I want y'all. Thank y'all for having me, man. Wow, it's been a year that fast. My goodness. You know, and just a year ago, we were just having these conversations and email streams, and now we're here. Good job, everybody, and it's good having the information around. This is something that obviously needs to be expanded. So, thanks everybody for all the hard work they put in on the topic and the concept. Thanks so much.
Dope. So, I wanted to try to drive this into some of the stuff that we've done in the past. I know some people ask, why do you guys talk about space and technology? And at first we used to just talk about technology, tech stuff. And then we had an epiphany one day to have a space hangout on a Saturday. I happened to be going to the Museum of Science. I had a seasonal pass, and I attended several space and planetary science experiments, not experiences, but exhibits. And I liked everything that I was seeing, and had some deep conversations with people that were there. Also watched one of the presentations about the new James Webb telescope. And in the credits, they start giving all these people from NASA, their credit for working on the satellite. And there were quite a few black people, black male and female, who were working on this type of stuff in the background that you typically would never see. And I thought to myself, we really got to be on top of this. We really got to be at the forefront of all this. And one in every 3 startups going forward from this day on will be a space startup. And I said we got to get on top of this and start talking about it. Once we started talking about it on that Saturday, I think a few hangouts later, we decided to kind of incorporate that into the space and technology, right? So instead of just breaking it up on different days, we decided to kind of combine it all on one day and really just kind of dig into this. A lot of us here have a vested interest in space exploration and other forms of environmental science and planetary science and things of that nature. So it was a natural integration into the hangouts. So. And how we really, I don't want to go too far back, but the manosphere has had its fair share of conflict, and conflict really drove us to be to move, take a step back and move in our own direction. If it wasn't for the conflict, we probably would not have started this. Although we were doing a lot of this stuff on Black Gnostic's platform in the first hour, the second hour, things of that nature. He allowed us to do that, so we appreciate allowing him, or him allowing us to actually engage on his platform in a very structured format. A lot of times when we run the hangouts, you'll see that there's a docket in the description beneath the video. That's because we run a very structured and very focused hangout. We're not really into the whole just randomness and not really talking about anything. Talking about women and things of that nature. We're just not about that stuff. I think that being structured and being focused, laser focused, has allowed us to get to where we are today. A lot of these other channels that was either that pre-existed before the Black Brain Trust or started after the Black Brain Trust have not really had the sort of success that we have had. They got a lot of subscribers, but not genuine subscribers. The people who come here, who subscribe, who hit the like button when they come in, who share the video, the live streams when they happen, those are the people that we really focus on. We don't really look to get the sort of subscriber base that these other guys have or these other channels have. They have a 10, 20, 30, 40, 100,000 subscribers. That's fine. But on our channel, having just 1,000 subscribers means that those are dedicated people.
Right.
And even right now, we only have about 30 people watching, but those are the people that, who really ride with us. So.
Right. And it kind of leads into sort of the topic, the emergence of the third wave. Because I don't know, I think that and maybe this is kind of what sparks our discussion for this evening. But what maybe marks the emergence is sort of like the abandoning of personages, quirky characters, YouTube personalities. It's getting away. It's getting well. I would say that in my view, it's getting away from those types of things and being honest people who talk about real things. And I don't really mean it. I don't really mean from like a sensationalized standpoint, but talking about things in order to gain clarity and understanding. Because when you talk about things and you talk about things in a circular nature, not only do you not get anywhere in terms of any sort of solution. I mean, even if you're even trying to have that to begin with, but not only do you not do that, but it's literally even on a physiological level, when you repeat a thought in your head, when you repeat things in your head, right? What happens is that those neural pathways become more ingrained with those thought patterns, right? And then it becomes harder to move away from that and accept new ideas to replace those old ones, to build new neural pathways when those thought forms are already deeply ingrained into the pathways that you already have pre-existing. So, I think that there has to be like a conscious decision to just say, okay, enough of the dumb shit. Okay. And this really is about learning and growing from what it is that you learn and then applying it.
So I want to get to the docket because I think the docket is important. Did you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say, since I've learned a lot since we've been on here, myself, reading articles, looking at videos pertaining to the things we talk about, and for those who know, I send out email chains with topics on articles on it and describing the article, and for me, that's a teach moment because that forces me to write that information into my head and be more proficient about the topics that we discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Peace to the chat, peace to the original man, and peace to Ali.
Peace with Sonya.
What's going on, Sonya?
Peace.
I was in a prior engagement, so you guys were able to see me, but I was able to talk right then and there. So that engagement has been terminated. So I just want to go ahead and give my salutations to all the gods and yours on the chat.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, so I wanted to get to this docket. So the first item on the docket is the origins of the Black Manosphere. So I came in at the same time as the esteemed brother, Mr. Research, and Sergeant Willie Pete. We came in around 06, 07, and the Manosphere was a safe space for thinking Black men. It was a response to all of the multiple forms of media that African American women and Zionists and other white supremacists and nationalists were using to attack Black men. And what that manosphere has done is allowed thinking Black men, intellectual Black men, to have intellectual discourse at a rate that had never been seen before. Sometime around 2009, late 2009, videos started getting flagged. People's channels were being taken down. There was a flag campaign to take down all the intellectual brothers off of YouTube. Most of that good, rich content that came from back then no longer exists. The few channels that were able to remain, those guys bounced. They stopped uploading videos, and unfortunately, there was a bit of a pause in sort of these intellectual discussions. Jenks Morton, Tim Alexandra, Thug Titian, Soul in Black, who was the originator of the wall, quote unquote. You know, he was the first one to coin the phrase the wall of silence, I should say. Those guys really contributed in ways that most of the black community today has never seen before. CNN came up with ran by Soledad O'Brien, came up with a series called Black in America, and a lot of the talking points that they were using came out of the manosphere. Sherry Shepard and I think Hill Hopper and Steve Harvey came up with a black forum where they had black women and black men all in one room having this sort of discussion about the state of black relationships. And Sherry Shepard, if I remember correctly, knows Hill Hopper from back in the day when he was doing undergrad, and she called him corny. And this is an established brother now. So the crux of the conversation of what led to the term educated lame came out of that discourse where they said, before they were saying that there was more black women in college than there were black men. Jenks Morton was the first one to really challenge that position by breaking down the numbers and showing that there were just as many black men in college as there were black women. So the real question is, well, why weren't the women choosing those types of men? And what led to that was the admittance from a lot of the women in the community to say that, well, just because you have a degree, you're still a lame. So you're basically an educated lame. That's where that sort of connotation comes from. And a lot of people today are misusing the term educated lame as a way to slander, and they're using it out of context because they're trying to make it seem like educated lame equals involuntarily celibate or incel. That was never the case. So what we have now, from maybe 2010 to 2000, around 2010 to like 2016, 2017 was the second wave in the manosphere, and a lot of that was profit driven. There were a lot of guys who made money off of the manosphere. The manosphere was never supposed to be a profitable environment. It was supposed to be a safe space for thinking black men, and unfortunately, the thinking black men, the intellectual black men, were kind of castigated. Basically ran off of YouTube and ran off of Facebook as well. So where we are right now is that we have to really start thinking about what is going to come from this second wave, or what's going to come from this third wave. If anybody else has anything they want to add to that, go ahead.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Wow, man, I was logging on and off so many times I wasn't coming up. When did you say that that interaction happened? What year? And the term educated lame was used what year?
It was about 2008, 2009. It was with Sherry Shepard and Hill Hopper. I'll see if I can pull up the
No, that's good enough. I just wanted to know. That gives me what I want to know. I want to say, although the term is new, but or say 2008, the concept is not new. I have to keep announcing my young voice. I'm age 55, double nickel. I grew up in the DMV, Chocolate City, a leading black community, if not the leading black community in America. I was a student at Howard University during the crack era of the 80s, when the culture got flipped upside down, when the young men, whether they were 16 or up to early 20s, suddenly had more money than every college student, every legally working person, including he had more money than his mother and father. And so the values got flipped, where the drug dealer was the richest and most powerful guy in the neighborhood. And we saw at Howard that the prettiest women on campus would be, and anybody in the DMV, you know, on 4th Street, we're near the reservoir. I don't remember the name of that hall, but it's if you in DC, you know what happens around every August. The whole city converges on that dorm. It's a freshman dorm there, and everybody's there to see the fresh women. And the drug dealers were famous for posting up there. And the drug dealers would basically, you know, if you wasn't a frat boy or a drug dealer, you know, you didn't get first pick. And so the debate, as I recall it, happened then. Why are these women dating these drug dealers who, you know, these women are squaring up. They're trying to pursue a legal life, a legitimate life, a life of some level of virtue. Why are they dating criminals or, you know, people that are representing death and destruction in our community? And so when we would have those debates, the clapback from Black women and even from, let's say, the criminals would be, oh, you think you're better because you're educated or because you're going to college. So the point I'm making is that the divide, that's where I saw the clapback, but then it extended to the community, the neighborhood, because again, the drug dealer was, you know, getting first pick there. So the divide wasn't between, in the 80s, the divide wasn't between people in college and everybody else is a pookie. The divide was between, it was a moral issue between legality and illegality. And the college guy was on the same side as the bus driver, the police officer, the firefighter. You know, it's just that the drug dealer turned the argument into a class issue. That whole, what do you call it? When Malcolm X, that paradigm, he did the field nigga and the house nigga. So they reawakened that divide and made it about, and got into some Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois thing. They perverted the line, and so it's been that way ever since. They're creating this fake dispute between people that pursued college degree and people that did not, when it was really about brothers who were legal and brothers who were illegal. That's all I wanted to say. That's my introduction to it in the 80s. And we didn't use that term Pookie and Ray Ray, but everything other than those words was exactly as it is today.
Brother, if I may ask, was this before or after Rayful Emmett?
During, because that was all in the 80s.
Okay. Just a random question. Yeah, I mean,
let me say he was 1 year. I would be 1 year older than him.
Okay.
So that's okay. Yeah, it's the same kind of period. I graduated high school in '82, so this was an '80s thing, and so yeah, the big money came into the hands of very young men, you know, pulling up. You know, at that time, the Acura Legend was like the car, you know.
You know, this reminds me of what I don't know if you guys saw. I don't want to say it was a documentary, but Dave Chappelle said that I believe he moved from DC to Ohio. I don't know what year this was, but he moved from DC to Ohio, and I guess when he came back, I don't know if it was for the summer or he moved back or what have you. He said that like a bomb, and he said just a bomb blew up in his community. And I don't know if Dave Chappelle is that, or it's just it's the same age you are, the same generation.
Yes, so we're same era, same era.
Okay, so I'm guessing because you were there at the time, you would have seen, figuratively speaking, you would have seen this bomb go off. And I guess the disintegration of an already perhaps fragile social fabric in the Black community just go ahead and disintegrate with the introduction of crack cocaine. Or what
I saw a girl that I went to high school with. I went to a school in the DMV that was known for having probably we were maybe the second largest. I went to McKinley Tech. Anybody listening? I went to McKinley Tech. All right. That my senior class was 750. That's just the 12th grade. Okay. All right. So we were known as having a school with maybe the prettiest girls. If not McKinley, it was Wilson. So we had the prettiest girls. There was one girl that used to dress so fine that you would mistake her for a teacher. And she was a model when she was in high school. She was so fine that I never saw no guy have no confidence to be able to approach her, not even the so-called alphas. Okay. She was just next level. When crack hit, she was selling it $30.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure. Excuse me. I just want to make sure that we stay focused on the docket itself and not really waver away from the items on the docket.
Thank you. You're right.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah. MOT, you have anything you want to add about the origins of the manosphere, where you came in and how it impacted you?
Well, I came in. I think it was probably 2 years ago at this point, and I came in as soon as like the flagging campaign came through for everybody. That's when I first came in, and it was more male driven. I'm not sure. It wasn't really, kind of the Sunday Rumble and kind of stuff. I mean, that stuff came way later, but it was more black male focused, and it wasn't an inflection point for PUAs to come in and try to hijack the information and turn it into something that it's not supposed to be used for. So it's pretty much a male helping space and a place for men to actually talk about things. And all that stuff kind of happened, way later on. But now we're kind of at this point to where this whole debate between it's really a debate between productive brothers and unproductive brothers when they try to use sex and past humiliation or disappointment with women as a jump off inflection point. But that's kind of where it is right now. So that's it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to follow up with MOT because I came into this stuff actually fairly recent. It was just maybe a short time before we ended up kind of breaking away to do this channel. I'm really relatively new to this stuff. And really, I was just kind of got drawn in from like the geopolitical and tech-based discussions that were being had. And then from there, it just became a thing where we ended up doing our own channel. And outside of what it's done here, I've largely just been an observer of what goes on the outside because I'm relatively new to this. And so what I kind of share MOT's sentiment in terms of what is actually comprised of the manosphere, where it's just a lot of PUAs and dating coaches, and I mean that's about a good 80% of the discussions largely. And I was kind of taken aback by it. So, this is why I'm really focused on this platform here. The notion of like the educated layman and all that, again, that's something that's really foreign to me. But, as we kind of get into the discussion here, I guess maybe we'll peel back the layers on that. But in terms of my coming into this, that's how I got into it.
Yeah, for me, I came in around 3 years ago. I was sitting at home just thinking, and I didn't have a very good guide to show me of how to be a man and man things men do, and I was thirsty for that. I was looking for that, so decided to come to YouTube, look up things. One day I said, as a man, I should wear cologne. Went on YouTube looking up cologne videos. And I ran into Kevin Samuels, and from there, funny enough, he was telling me about. Well, he was speaking about the manosphere, and I was saying, well, "What's that? What's this? No, that's that. Okay." And one day he said, "BGS have." He said, "If you go on BGS and it's 8-hour hangout," and at that point, an 8-hour hangout was foreign to me. I was thinking to myself, what is he talking about? 8-hour hangout? That can't be true. He must be mistaken. So lo and behold, ran to BGS and his 8-hour hangouts in 2017, and that's my entry point to the manosphere. because I was actually looking for something that was more tangible, looking for something that would help me become a man, help me help other men, speak to other men, have other men help me and me help them, and making each other better. That's why I was attracted originally and reaching out to find other men of nature.
Dollar, what was your entry into the manosphere?
I listened to just put it around, just checking it out. I was hanging out over with the pro blacks on the Sonetta area. I listened to some Black Ram 313 and heard BGS, and I appreciated the breadth of topics that he discussed, and I was impressed with the breadth of the brothers represented on the panel. I listened for maybe, it was more than a year before I ever joined the chat, or before I ever made an entry, a comment in a thread, or got on a panel. And so when I came across BGS, I said, I wanted to get on the panel. And then as for the Manosphere, I'm sorry, the Black Brain Trust, I saw an opportunity that we could create a platform to expand the dialogue of what we normally discuss, and to represent ourselves better. Because what we were discussing so beforehand was too narrowly focused, and it misrepresented us. And I also see the Black Brain Trust as a platform for other brothers who are maybe on Facebook and other social media that may want to have a presence over here, but may not want to get in the mud.
If I may, gentlemen, my entry was, I want to say, years ago. Years ago, I get to start with Willie Pete. A little before then, I was reading on PUA, other things of that sort, or what have you. And I would constantly visit black forums. So black forums, that's basically how I got into Pete. Pete, it basically went from him to Subtition, and slowly but surely, I don't want to say I was there from the bottom as far as the Black Manosphere is concerned. As far as certain topics, I was already familiar with it. So after the disappearance, or the ascension of Subtition, then from that point on, that's when I went around scouring YouTube. And I mentioned BGS because he's basically, at least for a lot of us, the common denominator. But I can't think of anybody besides either him or Sergeant Willie Pete. Now, as far as Sergeant Willie Pete, I'm not talking. I want to say maybe 5 or 6. And even with Sergeant Willie Pete, I wasn't listening to him as far as times he would go into certain radio shows, online radio shows, or even, I can't remember the name of the online forum. It wasn't Topic X. It was something different. Some of you older brothers may know. But I guess even then, they were talking about black issues, black relationship issues, things like that. So, and just continue scouring, and so basically, I got here to this point. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. So what I'm showing on the screen right here is the original video series, or the series that started this whole educated lame thing. Why can't unmarried black women find a good find a good man, or find a good black man? I think that was the original title. And that was hosted by Steve Harvey and Sherry Shepard and Hill Harper and a couple of other guys. And what you're seeing in that small clip right here is that it was hosted on ABC. With Sold Out O'Brien also had her Black in America series, and they were taking a lot of the talking points from the Manosphere and using it for their own for their own documentation purposes. But the conversation that came out of that is what brought that EL term, that educated lame term. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that this goes back. Let me see if I can find the date. 2010. That's when it was posted. But if I remember correctly, it goes back to 2009. So what I'm saying here is that the discourse that came out of that, and I'll drop the chat. I'll drop the link in the chat so that you all can see for yourself, because there's a lot more content that came out of that that led up to all of this stuff that you should actually know before you actually use these terms out of its context. There are a lot of people in the manosphere now who are creating these hangouts and stuff, and they're using the term educated lame, and they really don't know the origins of it. So that's just a note. Let me drop that in the chat before I move on to the next item.
I mean, and never mind that just the word put together doesn't make any sense, but that's just me.
It's an oxymoron, but that's the thinking of those that demographic of people.
That's the why. Yeah, that's right. I fundamentally have a problem with the term because it's from a syntax standpoint, it doesn't make sense. It's two words that are juxtaposed.
Yeah. Right. Basically, just because you're accomplished doesn't make you sexually attractive, right? That's where the term lame comes in. It should not mean that, but that's how they framed it, right? So that's what that for these contextual purposes. That's how they see it. And what came out of those flag wars breeded Tommy Sotomayor. A lot of people don't know that Tommy Sotomayor came at the cusp of all of this. And he took the gloves off. That was his position. Well, if they're going to do all of this to black men, then we might as well just take the gloves off. And that's why Tommy is so vulgar. Not just because he's a shock jock, but because of the emphasis that was put on silencing and actually working with the Anti-Defamation League and working with these different organizations, these Zionist and white supremacist organizations, to take down intellectual voices in the manosphere. That was crazy to a lot of people, and even led to a lot of conflicts offline too. So a lot of people think that Tommy Sotomayor is just this vulgar person because he's vulgar himself. No, it's because there were certain people who could not handle the intellectual dialogue that was happening. You know, you had the Blake Barbie dolls, you had ATL sister, you had a whole lot of them, and even ATL sister herself said, "This is not a democracy. That we will get you up off of YouTube really quick." And I'm still hearing those same terms being used today. Right, and that was 9 years ago, 10 years ago that they were talking about this stuff.
Well, don't forget.
That
I'm sorry. Don't forget the Thugtician that was in the middle of that as well. Because I remember the going back and forth.
Yeah, we mentioned him at the beginning.
Thug and Blake Barbie doll. I was watching that close, and they were a bit more cordial, but yet it was all about them getting those brothers up off of YouTube back then in Manosphere Release 1.0, and people like. Not so much Jason Back, but the Black Authority, he was up in there in the middle of that as well. I don't know if you guys remember.
Yeah, Black Authority. Yeah. Yep, Avenue Ranch, Kobe, yeah. NBA West. Quite a few of those guys. Pink Elephant. What's this other brother from Baltimore? I forget his name right now, man. He was lethal. He was dead lethal. Quite a few of those cats, man, who were really militant about intellectualism, man. You couldn't out debate these guys. So what they were doing was, we're just gonna flag you. We're gonna make sure we're gonna gather all the names. We're gonna list you down for hate speech, and we're gonna get you up off of YouTube. And that's why a lot of those guys are not on YouTube anymore. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you still have some. I mean, Black Authorities there, along with Jason Black, Sergeant Willie Pete. He was certainly there, but Thugtician, as you guys know, then he changed. Then they tried to knock his channel down. Then he came up with another channel called Iron Solar, and then that was his backup channel, I guess. And then he left YouTube, and he didn't get any. I don't think he got over 2,000 subscribers, but that was fairly sizable for that time. Then anyway, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, I was just going to say that Thugtician actually came from the MRA movement. He came from the men's rights advocate movement.
Yes, he did.
So he came for a voice for men, right? He used to write for them. He used to write diligently for them. So that's what his position really came from. And then he ended up in the manosphere because he was arguing on behalf of black men, because a lot of the the MRAs were actually racist. They were actually you know, they hated black men. You know, they didn't think that black men's challenges actually merited or warranted any sort of representation within the MRA itself. So that's why Thugtition went from the MRA to the Manosphere itself.
Yeah, that's true. There was one guy there, the British MRA. I remember. I went back and forth with him a little bit. He seemed like to have a little bit of sense, but they did, and this is almost 10 years ago. But they were speaking about some of the racism, and I did see that same type of move literally from MRA into MGTOW as well. But I did have to say I thought, you know, Thugtition, those guys, they were the first guys to kind of lay out, you know, the single mama game and it takes two to get pregnant, but only takes one to give birth and all that. They were on that. They were running all that down before these other cats jumped on it, and that narrative with how they were hitting those ladies back then, and it wasn't as raucous and as crazy as things had gotten later on, but they couldn't deal with that critique. They couldn't deal with the argument back then. And that's a very key thing that you do bring up, and they were lethal with it. They you know, how did my man say in training? I'm surgical with this bitch, Jack. I'm surgical with it. They were surgical with it. they were surgical with the bitch. They were surgical with it, and you know, and it set the whole tone. So a lot of these other guys who came on, this, you know, claiming like, you know, they broke a lot of stuff down. No, those guys have run that back down back then, and you know, and guys like the Black Authority and so forth, he was kind of refereeing some of this stuff, which I thought was kind of interesting. So yeah, I was all over. Go ahead.
Yep, he got into it with what's his brother's name from Chicago. He tore Black Authority out the frame. Calvary is here.
Okay.
Calvary was deadly, and this is a brother who was married to a white woman, and they tried to ostracize him out of the Manosphere, and it was like that's not going down that easy, because a lot of brothers were actually married to those women. So, and then you had Comic Genius, who was another, you know, he was he's like a media guy. He was rapper, all this other stuff. And he was deadly with the video editing and all that stuff, man. He created like almost a documentary of the original Manosphere that's gone today because those videos got flagged, and he's not around anymore. I think he's in Hollywood somewhere.
Yeah, man. I
so
mean, that's
where we are.
Fact. Those guys were deadly. They set it all up. Because I see other guys that came on later on. Like you might see this Mike Carroll and these other guys come out here, you know, claiming all this, but those guys they had laid all that down. I think these guys came in after and picked a lot of that stuff up and kind of ran with it. But even though they don't claim that they're part of the Manosphere, they certainly were putting forth, you know, the narrative that or the critique that brothers have taken, and then of course the Crystalline Carazans and all came in later after Blake Barbie-Doll and all them kind of laid out, and Egypt Ann was actually out there back then as well. I don't know if people even know that, but I had gone head to head with her on a couple of occasions. She was out of her mind back then, and all that, you know, weeded out. But now you come into the next phase, which I think is pretty ill. But you guys go ahead and continue on, because that history needs to be known. And a lot of the debate that people are putting up now, there's nothing new about it. Other brothers were doing it just as good, maybe not even better, from that stage, but you just didn't have this kind of audience that you have today. This audience that the Manosphere has now, and with all the super chats and the Patreons and the money and all that has gotten involved in this thing, that has played a huge role in dealing with this message, or the lack of a message, if you will, as that has continued on. But you didn't have that. You didn't have the Patreons and the super chats and you know, and all the, you know, the big donations that were going on that kind of have confused things a little bit. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you didn't have Google Hangouts back then. There was no such thing as Google Hangouts.
No.
People had each other's phone numbers, right? I had Sergeant Willie P's phone number. I had Soul and Black's phone number. We used to be on three-way calls and stuff like that, organizing. In order for everybody to really meet up like how we do on Hangouts now, people had to go to Blog Talk Radio. So Blog Talk Radio played an instrumental role in and activism and organization of brothers and getting them together. So,
Very true.
and you didn't have, there was no super chats back then either. You could only make a 10-minute video, and if your video was over 10 minutes, you kind of lost people's attention. The thing is, you had to condense what you had to say in 10 minutes, and if you couldn't get it over in 10 minutes, you already lost the debate. So a lot of the content was so rich because you only had so much time to really post. And
that's,
it wasn't until afterwards.
Yeah. You're absolutely right about that. And see, and remember, you could respond to somebody's critique or whatever with your own video right there in that section. So you could actually respond with a video. You could put a video right in there and respond. People could go right to your video as a video response right there in that chat box. It was live like that. So things have changed drastically since then. But yeah, you're right. But I remember a lot of what was going on. But like you said, there wasn't the money. The money just wasn't. The money. The money just wasn't. People weren't making a job out of it. Like we see today, that wasn't happening.
Let me jump to the next item on the docket because we only have so much time. The second item was what was the downfall of the original Manosphere? It was the flag wars. You had black women working with law enforcement and Anti-Defamation League and all these other groups to take down those thinking black men. So I think we covered that already. The third item is what are the issues with the current Manosphere? We'll start with MOT. Or maybe not.
All right, there we go. There we go. I mean, what's really going on right now is just that we've kind of put the what do you want to call it? The self-improvement piece of kind of taking a back seat to we're right back talking about women again. That's the thing. And that's kind of where, we was on the self-improvement route. And now you got the PUAs, their stuff is done outside of that. So now you got people who trying to turn a information space into a jump off space for them to kind of recreate themselves. And that's kind of what's happening kind of everywhere. So that's the only problem that is right now. So that's all I got.
Nicole?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I think, to a large extent, the Manosphere has been greatly influenced, and the message has been greatly influenced on why they talk about money and everything else like this. Why we're talking about women and everything else like this, because I think money's played a big role. I mean, I bring it up. I think it has played a big role, and I think that has compromised a lot of where this thing kind of should be. I definitely think that has played a role, the pursuit of that, and anytime you put money involved with a message, it can get somewhat perverted. Talking about self-improvement, and like I said, I don't have a problem with brothers making money. I don't have an issue with that at all. I just think if you want to stick to a real message, you want to talk about black men first, and this, and when we really start talking about the Manosphere. I think it for some of the content creators, it might be difficult to stick to that because of the dollars. And you have a lot of women coming in, and they not that they're coming in like they've like they are invading. They've been invited, they've been invited in, and so that's what's going on here. So I think there are a lot of people who are thinking, well, let's link up with the women as well because there's more money to be involved in that. Of which there is money, but I don't think it's really going to filter that heavily into the male space, into the black male space, especially. I think some brothers are starting to see this, and that has been somewhat problematic. So I think the self-improvement message has been a strong one. It's uncovering a lot of fuckery, and the money on the side has played a role in diluting the message, and that's why you see that the Manosphere can't get out of third gear at this stage from what I've seen, and it's downshifted and slowed down, and it's gotten kind of bogged down, but behind a lot of this, and that's my critique. There's some brothers who were staying very close to old Manosphere type of game, and then I see some other changes in some other areas. And once again, I keep bringing up. I do think the money has played a role in some of what's going on.
Dr. Will.
Yeah, I think it was bound to be messy. The Manosphere has held a mirror up for us to take a look at ourselves, and it's the first time we've ever been able to do that. When we have people that have never, not only have they not like left their own city, they definitely haven't seen much of America, and we don't have one common experience in America. There's regional cultural differences. Of course, we had the Tupac and Biggie, which kind of made that clear. And so now everybody else with YouTube, we're seeing how different. There are many authentic Black experiences in America, and we're seeing what that is, and also there class is a real thing. Class differences is a real thing. Values is a real thing. We have many different religions and value systems, and so forth. Technology has put us all in the room or on the stage all at one time for the first time in ever. So it was bound to be messy. So there it is. And we have had these fights as kids growing up, arguing in the playground. Men, we compete, and the neighborhood has a pecking order or the streets have a pecking order about who's first, second, third. And then if brothers who may not have been rated first or second by the streets, you go out and you establish yourself beyond the neighborhood, whether that's academically or professionally or just getting a good government job or civil service job. So there's a resistance in the streets to recognize that the pecking order has changed. So there's that too, that status. Who's on first? If you were on first, are you still on first? So just regular competition among men too. There's that too.
I want to go to Ulysses, and then I want to go to C Boogie. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Mike, what was the question that you had asked?
What do you see as what are the issues with the current Manosphere?
Well, I mean, I don't think that I don't think that it's fully being maximized. Right. I don't think that like the medium and what it contains is actually being maximized. There's a lot of things that could actually be done with it that isn't being done, and what's being done isn't productive. Okay, so that I would, without getting into too many details, I would say that that's largely what it is. Like, you don't just see news groups. You don't see, hell, even like groups based on like personal interests, like groups of guys who are like motorsports junkies, like myself, Paul, Nagone, a few other brothers, like stuff like that. We do the black car, black automotive chats. We do those. We've done some baseball chats and stuff like that. So you don't really see diversity. You really don't. You see you just see one. You see like one big fucking like reality show with a whole bunch of like actors in it, YouTube actors. That's what it kind of looks like to me. And so it's like, I can't myself, I'm just speaking for myself now, I can't take any of it seriously. So I would say that it's the tone of seriousness, like okay, what you could actually be doing with this, what you could actually be using it for. I would say that right about now, in terms of like the collective manosphere, maybe 10% is actually being utilized. Maybe 10% of the potential is actually being utilized, and that's kind of that's a bit disheartening.
Go ahead, C Boogie.
Yeah, you know, as far as problems and issues, you know, I would start at a place of, you know, there's really no checks and balances, man. In regards to the men, you know, there's no quality control. You know, in regards to the men, you know, that would be my biggest, I would say, issue, if anything. And it's really a non-issue because I try to tend to mind my business unless somebody bring my name up. I got my own little corner, and in which I do my thing. Now I don't know, you know, in regards to what guys are doing, but you know, in regards to my channel, you know, I was able to take something that was a hobby and then turn around and maximize it. You know, me having, you know, contact with the University of Maryland campus, you know, to have me on campus, you know, to talk about different man stuff and you know, in regards to maybe the red pill and things like that. To me, that was a big step because, you know, I've never took YouTube very serious in regards to any kind of money. I've never asked my supporters for a dime, but they support me anyway, you know. So I understand the guys that got to pay bills with this, because, you know, that's how to make their income. So you're going to see a lot of buffoonery, but you know, it's a lot of people stepping on other people's toes, because they don't like their message for whatever reason. And you know, my thing, well, that's their message. I don't necessarily get involved with that. But you know, to me, it's just no checks and balances to this. And not that it should be some kind of commission or something, but it's just like, yo, man, you know, if those women were doing this, y'all would be killing them. But now, you know, it's a lot of men doing unsavory things. And I'm like, you know, to be honest, I can't really get with that mindset, man. So that's the biggest thing for me, man. No quality control, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you talk about self-improvement, you know, just really quick, you talk about self-improvement, in all facets in life and how people can take your message and twist it up and to try to set out a narrative is just like, you know, to me, that's you know, that's bullcrap, man.
I agree.
Lionel, and then whoever else did not go.
I agree with you all. I agree with everyone. My input is there's no progression. There's a lot of regression. And the regression that we're seeing is overtaking the good that's in the manosphere. And the regression that we're seeing is a microcosm of the entire Black community in America. Now, the term manosphere to us means a group, well, a section on YouTube that is here in order to help men, well, the Black manosphere, help Black men to improve. We here for a reason. But the problem is now that we have people that are not, that don't show expertise on specific subjects. We have a lot of people that have expertise on irrelevant subjects. We have a lot of people that have expertise on hood subjects, on niggerish subjects, on subjects that doesn't help in the whole. That doesn't help you say, okay, well, the hangout is over. Now I can take the information that I learned from the hangout and make my life better as a Black man. There's a lot of regression, and there's not enough of us in the Black manosphere in total that can overtake that regression. We have us on the Black manosphere. We have the people on the panel that are speaking about it, about this regression, and they're warning people don't go down that rabbit hole because you can't come back up. You're being beaten down to these people's level, and you can't come back up. So it's a lot of regression going on, and it's not enough progression going on from what I see.
Mm-hmm. Did Dollar will
DE,
go or
DE.
DE? Go ahead, DE. Go ahead, DE.
Ladies and gentlemen, you made some great points. I mean, some of you guys I almost didn't have anything to say anyway. Agree with the money issue, but ego is, I think, one of the things that killing us in the manosphere is ego. You got people who lack the knowledge but see the income potential and will use any manner of any foolishness that they comes to their mind to put up a video or go on somebody's channel and try to argue them down, you know, pull them down into foolish arguments that don't make any sense and have no value, don't add anything positive to what they're trying to build. Then you have people who want to keep their image, and you know, I want to look good. I want to look good to the men because I'm a man, or I think I'm a man, and they want to look good to the women because they're trying to get these foolish women who criticize men. They think they can get with these women and straighten them out, and they can't. And then some of us invite women in, and they say, "Well, what do you think a man should do?" Women been telling us all the time, and what they've been telling us is that we don't need you. But these men still want to bring these women into the conversation. We hear what they have to say. We don't have to hear them in our conversation because we know what they said. And then you have some men who are deliberately fracturing the men, like setting one man against the other because they want the same thing, the image. If they figure they can get two brothers going against each other, that they'll look good, and the women's going to step in and say, "Hey, man, you're a strong man. You know, you were better than the two of them." So we've got a lot. We got to either maintain a level above where we're headed, because to me we're like circling the drain.
I was gonna say, man, yeah, it's above the fray, above the fray.
Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't had my take on this, but I agree with just about everybody on the panel. My position is that one of the things that attracted me to Black Gnostics is because of the way he does his research and the way he presents it. That's almost one for one of how I think and how I interact with people as well, and as well as the social media space. So that's what made me subscribe to Black Gnostics. But I think what's really troubling the manosphere right now is that we have certain people who are on these panels and hosting these hangouts and things of that nature, engaging with us in ways that they never would have offline. You would never see, just unsavory characters in the same space with ethically aspiring men. Guys who are very astute in their way of thinking and three-dimensional thinkers. That doesn't happen offline. When I was doing undergrad and even in my some of my graduate work, we never just had any interaction with these guys, and what they consider to be intellectual thought, happens to be more niggerish, right? If I come to your hangout and you talking about you cook cats and you cook guys and I cook niggas and I do this and I do that, show me your work. A lot of these guys have not shown their work. So a lot of the times, YouTube is popping, but YouTube is popping with cats that's just popping trash. They're not really putting out anything that of worthy content. So I just find that funny, and a lot of the topics are repetitive. They keep going over and over the same content, and I just gave a quick synopsis on the origins of the manosphere, and a lot of those talking points that they're claiming that they started existed years before, at least a decade before they even came onto YouTube.
Are a lot of those blog talk radio shows that you reference, are they still up?
Some of them probably are. but a lot of them, a lot of guys who got their content taken down, they went and took all that content down too, because they didn't want to be tied in with a lot of that stuff. I know a lot of these guys were professional workers. They work for IBM, they work for Federal Reserve and these big institutions. So they was like, we don't want that stuff coming back to haunt us. So a lot of that stuff got taken down.
Gotcha.
Yep. Let me jump to this next item on the docket, which is number 4, dissecting the term educated lame. We've already been over that. It's a stupid term. It's an oxymoron, but at the end of the day, they coin that as a brother who has himself together, but he's non-select. Select means that, I think C Boogie kind of touch on that himself, but select just means that you're the chosen guy, or that you can choose whatever woman you want without the challenge. Would you agree with that, C Boogie?
Yeah, man. To me, from day one on my channel, excuse me, from day one on my channel, I was telling my subscribers, man, try to stay away from that conversation, because to me that was a distraction. In my real life, I don't necessarily deal with pookies. I don't know no educated guys that run like Steve Urkel. And I was like, what? To me, a lot of this stuff was just perpetuated to drive a narrative home. And I'm like, yo, to me, that's a little disrespectful, man, to guys that are, educated or got, high levels of degrees and things like that, to say that they are lames. And to me, it just wasn't a conversation worth having. And then, but I seen the conversation came back around. It came back around. I was like, wow, we back here. And so I was one of the ones pushing for guys to stay away from that. I'm like, nah, I would stay away from this conversation. And certain things I don't get involved in. Who gets this person pregnant, and that, to me, that's that's a little bit beneath me. But I understand why people talk about it. But to me, it's just a waste of my time. And I would never tell another man what to talk about. But on my channel, I'm like, nah, we're not gonna get involved in that, because now you're getting down in the mud, and you really doing yourself a disservice by spending your time talking about it. So I understand guys want to draw distinctions between themselves and other guys, but it's just one of those things. Is it really affecting your personal life? Is a Pookie on the corner going to stop Mike from being Mike? I don't think so. Mike not going to stop for anybody. So to me, that's just my train of thought. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I'm glad you put emphasis behind that, because the term educated lame, I brought this up years ago. You can't raise your son to be something that you yourself don't find attractive as a woman. That's the most impractical social engineering dynamic that I think black women tend to have. I raised my daughter to be independent. Right. I raised my daughter to be independent, not depend on the men, and then I raised my son to be something that I don't find attractive. I never seen that. I've never seen that with any other group of women. So for me, it's a very strange sort of perspective to take when you're talking about building a community, that you're going to build a community with women who don't depend on men, and men that you don't find attractive. I just find that to be very mind-boggling.
Well, I think it's also, Mike, I think it's also a class issue, right? That's like I said, I mean, I like to call these things what they are, okay? Because there has to be something behind someone calling a person who would largely be one of your intelligentsia, right, a lame. Okay, like I said, these are people who are capable of doing the majority of the thinking for the people who don't do much thinking on their own, right? So the notion or the idea that said people would also then refer to the people who do the majority of the thinking as lame. Okay, look, let's unpack it. Let's just stop right there. Let's bring it on back just a little bit. Okay. So we are talking about a class issue. A class doesn't necessarily just reference one's monetary status, but it also represents your moral standards, your ethics. Okay, that class represents all of these different things. Okay, you see, so people who operate with a higher set of standards, okay, are going to largely be above the fray. Those who don't operate at those standards, okay, are going to largely view those people as some sort of bane. Okay, and they're guilted. They're guilted because these are people who resemble them, who look like them, but who exist in a higher class strata. Okay, and so what it is that we got to bring these Negroes back down a couple notches. That's what that is. If I'm up here and I operate and I function on a certain level, like one way to try to knock me off my perch, and I put that in air quotes, right, is to call me a fucking lame, right? When in all actuality, the mere fact that I exist on that class strata and I do the things that I do that correspond with that class strata would actually denote that I'm anything but that. So we're also looking at like an illogical thought process that creates juxtaposed terms. We're talking about sheer stupidity, to be frank.
Well, I think like also I think I'm gonna say this and I gotta run, but I think we're dealing with the the aftermath of a broken culture, man. A lot of these conversations, to me, it's our culture is so jacked up, to the point some black folk do suffer from it. Let's say you got a guy that was socialized away from the inner city, like he might do fine, but when he go to the inner city, he can't relate to those people. And vice versa. You got a black person from the inner city, he might go to the suburbs with that class of folk. He can't relate to those people. I mean, we all black, and I didn't know the vitriol was this deep in between those two groups because I've never really been involved in that. I've always been able to kind of deal with anybody, but for the most part, I'm starting to see that it is a lot of static, and I kind of threw the white flag, like, nah, I realized this is not really applicable to my life. I was like, I don't really I'm not really invested in that Pookie Ray Ray educated lame conversation as much as others because it never affected me. I understand it, but personally it never affected me. And even within, because the women always want to come up. So like even within the women, this is another thing that culture has to do with it. So you have black men, for the most part, black men are, physical specimens. You look on TV, you see us running, jumping, doing all kind of crazy acrobatic things. So if you're a black man that does not fit that mold, people going to look at you well like, hey, what's wrong with you? And you might just been a guy that read books. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just a part of our broken culture at this point, and that really needs to be fixed. And so that's just how I see it. I don't see educated guys in my real life that they just regular cats, man. Like my mentor is a PhD guy, but he don't stick his nose down at people. He talk to people on their level. He doesn't weaponize his intelligence. He doesn't, he doesn't walk around. He just a regular guy. So I don't really recognize a lot of this stuff. And I hadn't until I got on YouTube, and I'm like, whoa, this is a major issue between these two groups. So,
hey, thank you for your contribution, bro.
Oh, sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna say this. My father told me, never tell a fool that he's a fool, because he wouldn't know what you're talking about. I'm serious. And I didn't understand it at the time. But when I got to be about 40, 45 is when I really began to understand what he meant. And one of the problems that I see, and T-Boogie hit on it, is that you call an educated person a lame, and the person might walk away from you and shake his head, and you think that you won.
Right.
You feel so proud of yourself that you keep on calling other people that, and you're just showing yourself ignorant. And the people who don't want to deal with you just walk away and leave you all the time.
How do they not see that?
You're still not learning. You know what I'm saying? And people will ask me, what's wrong with you? I feel work with people who will say something to me and I just smile and I walk away. Damn, what's wrong with you? And I can't say exactly what I wanted to say because if I say it, I'm gonna either get you upset or it's gonna pass over your head. And I learned enough of the English language that I can bring you down, slap you around, and but why do that? It's a waste of time for me.
Man of tomorrow.
Yeah. The problem is that, I mean, you could go with the narrative that you don't want to see this shit. That's because you don't want to see it. And you don't want to acknowledge those people. And you don't want to acknowledge how those people has been looked at. Now, everybody's been black in society for quite some time. And this is how these people have always been looked at that way. I mean, you can't walk in with some African understanding that you don't understand what these people mean by educated lame. You can't just say that you've never seen this. You just can't do that.
No, I
Just
meant the vitriol.
no.
Like the actual
No,
like feelings behind it. I mean, I definitely know what you mean because I've seen guys get picked on in school and stuff like that. But like as far as I didn't know it went so deep with a lot of people until I got on YouTube and was able to listen to some of these stories like a Xanatos. I was able to have close contact with a guy like him and really sit down and listen to him like, oh, okay, this is what you've been through. Now I get it a little bit more.
Yeah, but this is the other thing. Like these people who are quote unquote the select guys, they destroyed our fucking race. That's what they've done with they're walking around kind of celebrating it by just calling other people's names because some people like this doesn't apply to me, but I do understand what they're trying to talk about. It's just that this is what these people have done. They've destroyed our race. They sowed poison to the community. They destroyed all the women. Congratulations. I mean, like I said, none of this stuff affects me, but I do see why the vitriol is there because I have 1,000% vitriol against people who represented those class of people at that time, who were destroyers of everything. So you have to understand that this stuff comes from a place of lowering our status of all black people in society, and that's what that's about. And it's for real. We have a real problem from that era. That's for real. And you just can't say that you don't understand it because I guarantee you talk to kids who are from this broken kind of culture and selection and mating process. So you can't say that you don't understand how real it is. You see it personally in your life. And when I have to mentor kids, yes, I see the fallout from this specific thing. So when you say that you didn't understand how real it is, it's like, I mean, at what point do we have to pay attention to what's actually going on? I mean, we just have to be able to acknowledge that everything is just not running right, and it's based off of this time period and the abuse of power when those people had it.
Well, before I got online, I never heard these open conversations. I've never walked up on I've never walked up on a quote unquote educated lame and a pookie, and they were sitting there hashing out some kind of issue in real life. I've never seen that till I've seen a YouTube hangout where these two groups actually got together.
Because that's where it exists, man. That's the problem. That's where it exists.
Yeah,
this YouTube shit does not exactly mirror real life. It does not mirror the real world. It's highly sensationalized. It has specialized terms and phrases. It's its own ecosystem. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I think.
No, I was just gonna say. Darlo, I'm gonna let you go. Give me 10 seconds. I think the reason why you don't see it in public is because those two type of people don't interact with each other in the real world, which is what I was saying earlier in the hangout. That your D1, D2, D3, D4 guy who's in those institutions, he's not out there with Pookie. He's not interacting with Pookie at all, or what's considered to be a Pookie, right? This sort of low educated, undereducated, underdeveloped, underperforming black male that is sexually desirable to a lot of black women. He's not interacting with that guy in real time because they're in two different social classes, social stratus. So that's why you don't see it offline. But online, what I was saying earlier was that we have played an experimental game of bringing these two people on a panel and bringing them into the same spaces, and that's where you start to see the clash, because they're not really supposed to be in the same spaces at all. So because their worldviews are going to be entirely different. You know, you got people on YouTube in the manosphere talking about, well, selling drugs and poisoning people with oxycodone and fentanyl is not bad if you have to feed your family. But then these same people will talk about what the 1960s everybody getting on welfare act, right? This whole idea that black women, kick black men out of the house for welfare. But if you were so dependent on the system, why are you still dependent on this guy to sell all the dope? It doesn't make any sense. It just seems like a circular argument. So go ahead, Dollar.
Yeah. This issue is real. It's real complex. That division has always been there. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that division has always been there. But in addition to that, I think we really gotta look at feminism. Feminism changed the game. Money, which is a form of power. It's also a mark of certain skill or development of the man who can get money legally. So it's not, and we had these memes going around, well, you just got money. Well, no, the man made the money. If the man lose the money, he can get it again. Okay, because it's the substance of the man made the money. But we have this thing that say, well, you ain't shit. You just got money in your pocket. I mean, it's crazy. But feminism flipped it, because before feminism, the man with the money was called resourceful. Okay, and he was somebody to be respected for that. To be he was somebody to pair with. The money being that portable power, okay, got transferred to women. She could get her own money without the man. So that allowed that also flipped the script from men objectifying women. Now women objectify men. So now you have women picking men not for their intelligence or anything like that. Men are just, fuck tools, fuck boy. That's the term they even got now, and that's the way. That's feminism has empowered women to look at men that way, and you have men that are benefiting from that objectification. That not no problem with them benefiting from it. My issue is they like it. They don't feel offended by it. Okay, and so even it's like you can hear the hypocrisy if you just stay back and listen to our debates. Like every 20 minutes, the subject might change. We'll go from let's say alpha dude, a dude that may think of himself as alpha. We'll talk about how uncooperative black women are, and then later on he'll talk about how he's alpha. I'm like, wait a minute, and he won't see a connection between the devaluation of the quote educated lane, and at the same time his devaluation of his intellect. And these two brothers can't see that that manhood in total is being disrespected.
Well,
hold on.
That's a big point.
Hold on. Let me finish my flow, and I'm gonna lay back. Let me get it all out. So that we got to deal with. That money has changed everything. So women are having to deal with the fallout of of having power, having the power to basically objectify men, and that leaves a lot of men trying to find what's their role relative to women, and so we're just lost. But you got me. My flow is gone. They're gonna go ahead. I'll come back.
No. I didn't mean to cut you off. I
lost it. Go for it.
I think you made a pretty darn good point there about the whole about the money piece of which I totally agree with. But one of the things I do see is that, you know, there is somewhat of a of an issue of where people are at in society. Like, for instance, well, I'll bring him up. A dude like Taz. Okay, he running around talking shit, going wild on the fucking Manosphere, talking crazy shit. All right, I mean, talking. I mean, talking crazy shit to made men. So, you know, a guy like me who's walking around, I don't deal with a guy like this in my regular life. And if I see a guy like this in my regular life, he damn sure ain't talking that crazy shit that he's talking on the internet. You know what I'm saying? He ain't talking that to me if he sees me. That's for damn sure. None of these Negroes. But you see a lot of that going on because, we talk about black men first, and that's a big part of what the manosphere is supposed to really be about. Black men first. We hear these brothers say this all day long, but yet, you know, at the end of the day, when we really start to interact with each other, now we've kind of moved the woman piece aside a little bit. We see the money flowing in of the way it is and all that. We see brothers going at each other quite a bit. You know, if they can't go in on these women, we going in on each other, and a lot of that does play somewhat of a class role. We do see that. So you know, there is an issue there. There definitely is an issue there. That we have. I think a lot of that, to a large extent, actually comes heavier from those who may feel they're in a lower class to those who may be in an upper class. I think they are much more. They try to be much more aggressive, especially online, and not face to face. But online, they're going to try to do that sucker-lay domination thing, because they're being dominated, and women are dominating the shit out of them as well. But here's a place where where everyone can kind of get together and go at each other, and from there, what I'm seeing, there's a lot of economics behind this now. There's a lot of people, looking at these battles, and big chat rooms now up on this, and there's money being made behind this right now, and that's where when I talk about the money, and that playing a role in really damaging our message as black men first, and really talking about self-improvement more than anything else. A lot of this shit is getting in the way of it. That's why I'm wondering, in this manosphere, is this thing going to kind of separate to where those who want to talk more about more intellectual business community things, where you're dealing with people who you can talk to and deal with easier than those who may be coming in who have a lot of issues with you.
Okay, I remember what I wanted to say.
But anyway, and there's more to be said on that. But I'm just going to put that out there. Go ahead, Dollar Will. Go ahead.
Yeah, and also the feminism messed up the whole hypergamous. Was what I believe should be the women should be hypergamous. They're supposed to, pardon my language, fuck up. They're not fucking up. They're fucking up. Okay, so men are supposed to date down. Okay, and so when I'm saying up and down, that's offensive to a certain caliber of men. When we're basically inferring or saying that she should be dating somebody better than you. That is what's being said. Okay, we're talking about a woman who has her family has put the value in her for education and traditional type of monikers of success, and her male peer who has those same values. That should be her standard. Historically, it was. At some point, she would get with him, but now that women have money, they don't have to date up. So it's really not so much that women. I don't think women today are that they date up. They date down like men, and so that's a problem. I'm done. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah, go ahead. That's it.
I know. Did you have anything you wanted to add to this? I don't think you've spoken on this yet.
No, I was gonna add some. I want to kick off the next topic on the docket.
Yeah. So the next item on the docket is what is the Black Brain Trust Global Initiative?
Hey, Mike.
I'm sharing my screen right now. Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Mike, I was gonna ask because of like the kind of like the subject matter. I was gonna ask if we can kind of push this to the end because I know the topics that come after this are gonna be more related to what we just been talking about. Can we put
Okay.
that to the end?
Yeah, absolutely. We can skip right past
Okay.
that. All right.
Okay.
So next item on the docket would be what should be the future of the black man in the 21st century.
Yeah. Now, is
Oh,
that the
actually,
same?
we skipped over.
Yeah.
Actually, we
What does
skipped
the
over.
third wave?
Yeah, the third wave. Okay. Do you want to take that?
Yeah. Yeah. Um.
Go ahead.
All right. What we're seeing now is the current manosphere is black manosphere is growing more and more. It's sucking in other black people, other non-American black people, and other non-Caribbean black people. That's the Caribbean that's immediate to America. Now you're seeing black people from England, you're seeing continental Africans, and you're seeing other black people from around the world that is sucking in. Now, with the technology that we speak about, more specifically 5G, where it'll be an omnipresence of internet as it rolls out more people will be connected to the internet, which means more people are going to come on social media. Social media is the thing to be, such as the Instagrams and Facebooks, and YouTube is included into that as YouTube get bigger. So that means that we're seeing, I already see it now where Africans, continental Africans, or other black people are commenting on the current black manosphere. And as the current black manosphere as it is now, you have a lot of people that are not driving the manosphere forward. Me, when I think about the future of the manosphere, I start off as a definition. The black manosphere. What is that? It's a space where black men can come and congregate. Well, what do we want from that? From that congregation? Is it to be just be sitting there looking at each other talking trash? Or is it just or is it going to be a space where we can come and get extra knowledge, extra learning, extra game, extra information that will guide us where we can go back into the world, go back into reality out of this space with tools in our tool belt in order for us to do better. That's the definition of the black manosphere to me. So with that, once we take that information, well, what do we have to do to make that happen? We have to get rid of these people that are currently dominating the black manosphere with this nonsensical arguments, with these circular arguments, with these loud yelling at people, calling each other niggas, saying these irresponsible things that are not guiding black men in this black manosphere and not sharpening each other irons. And we have to replace that with what we did already with the brain trust. We have to replace that with people that are experts on specific subject matters that you can listen to and learn and be guided on where to learn more about these things pertaining if that pertains to whatever you're looking for. That is what I think the future of the black manosphere needs to be, in my opinion, because we're going to see more and more people, more and more black people, be uh, uh, fall into this manosphere as is. And if they fall into this manosphere as is, this this infection of what the black manosphere is going to spread throughout the world. And that's what I want to say about that one.
Anybody else want to jump in on this?
No, that's it. I mean, it's just that what you have to do is you have to replace current speech with better speech. That's the only thing you can do. Is just replace normal conversations with better conversations, and just hope that you win in the ideas into the the marketplace of ideas. That's what I meant to say. So it's entertainment at the end of the day for most people, and I know I'm gonna do my thing on what I plan on doing, and other people are gonna talk about dating and trying to sell select mail in a bottle and all that kind of stuff. And it's just that it's it's kind of a whole thing of what the whole experience is about. If if you look at why people watch TV or even documentaries, they do it for different reasons. And it's just that YouTube, Black YouTube specifically, is just being used as that tool. Like me, I don't have cable TV. The only thing I have is Netflix, internet, Hulu, and YouTube. That's it. And probably a lot of people are going to be going to that model. So this is why you have to replace the conversations and just hope that your better conversations that we have on air can be the history channel for certain things. That's the only thing you can do is try to compete out there. So, you know, you're probably not going to beat out, you know, people talk about dating and all that, but hey, man, more voices is just better.
Hey, MOT, with that Insta Select mail on the bottom, did I just add water?
No. No, it's a perfume. It's an aerosol.
Oh, okay.
I'll just
Anybody else have anything they want to add to this about where the Third Wave Manosphere?
Hey, BGS.
Third Wave for the Manosphere meets.
BGS, chime in, man.
Yeah, I just jumped in. I just
What's
jumped
going
in
on,
for a
brother?
minute. Just jumped in for a minute because I got my own hangout starting in about 25 minutes. This is why on my channel I, actually started, when me and Rob started to dive into this and actually started talking not only about sexual selection, because that's all select is, and Rob just dropped a video on what select actually means. It's sexual selection by any given woman, and every woman doesn't select the same kind of guy. And what feminism, the feminism actually did was not only re-socialize women, but also re-socialize men. And there's certain things that there's certain things that say the feminist education, and also the women that came out of the feminist education, which is some people's mothers, especially for millennials and maybe some later Gen Xers, that they have this mindset, and the way they train their boys, and they wanted to soften the males to make them more supportive. And that's where the red pill, that's even on the white sector, that's where the red pill rage comes in. You have this educational system or this social system that actually socialize these boys to be a softer, gentler, more supportive male. And when they get there in their 20s, they find out that these non-select men that you have, quote unquote, trained and actually socialized to be, quote unquote, non-select or supportive doesn't make their pussies wet. And now we have this disconnect.
Well,
so now we have this.
Here's my problem. My problem with that is we just said with that select, non-select male statement, and it doesn't matter what a woman brings to the table, she gets everything. I don't think a man on this universe should be using the term select or non-select, because I don't think an unproductive woman who don't bring shit to the table gets a motherfucker.
Well, the thing, evidently, the reason it matters, the reason that Rom came up with it is because we had, he's a relationship coach, and he have all these dudes complaining about why they're not getting the women that they think they should get. So it's not a woman problem; it's also a male problem, because it wouldn't even come up if the males weren't talking about it. Why does this dude get a woman that I feel that I should get? And me and Rom have, for the last 2 years, have been trying to show strategies and reasons from female sexual selection to imprint to class structure, why certain women go for certain kind of guys, and it's a complex little thing. So we've been trying to slice this stuff up so men can actually find what group of women actually vibe with them and select this dude. Because truth be told, and in fact, I think it was either the hangout, either the last hangout I did, which was last Saturday, I actually jumped on a couple of dudes about the same kind of bullshit, because they were talking about, because they talk about, the Pookie and Ray Rays or the select or the select dudes, or that's who like the fuck. I said, well, if that's the goddamn thing, because at first I said, number one, educated lames don't need you. As we call them.
Exist.
Huh?
They don't exist.
I'm using a term because this is a term that's been thrown around. So
that's the problem.
Can I finish?
You can finish. I'm just stating a fact.
They don't exist. What I'm saying is I didn't start the term.
I think for the sake of argument,
for the sake of argument, this is the term that's been thrown around. Okay, and basically when the brothers came to me about because they started calling themselves, 2-3 years ago, and basically Mike can tell you 2-3 years ago, a lot of brothers came to me about this educated lane problem. I didn't start it, and a lot of brothers were calling themselves this. Okay, even when we were trying to change.
We kind of went over the origins of that.
Yeah.
So we kind of went over the origins of that.
Yeah, we get started with Sergeant Willie Pete. But anyway, the thing is that I was telling them so they would understand, because this is what they're calling. I said, these group of dudes don't need you. And the thing is, I said, being in the conscious community that I have been for 30 years, you're constantly begging for these men to come back and stay in the community. And first I asked them, I said, now give me a reason why they should go put up with this shit and stay in the community. I asked 2 or 3 of these brothers. I said, talk back to me. Give me a reason why they should stay. Why should they stay? And they couldn't come up with a reason. So basically, you don't want to accommodate them. You want to down them. And then you expect them to actually come stay and actually serve the community. That is backwards. I've been saying that for 3 years. That's backwards. And then the next thing I said, if they said that Pookie and Ray Rays or the street niggas or whatever you want to call them, or the dudes with swagger, whatever you want to call them, or the dudes that women like to fuck or wouldn't want to be with. I said, okay, if that is the case, I said at least half of these dudes that you're talking about are going to prison. I said, if the women or the black women as a whole, I'm not talking about, because there are a lot of women that don't, but black women as a whole love these kind of dudes. How come they can't keep them out of fucking prison? How come they can't keep them out of jail? How come every time I see a street dude go up to court on a court case, it's a white man or a white woman standing next to him? How come these sisters ain't lawyers defending these dudes that they love so much? In other words, what I'm saying is, you don't love them. They don't love them as much as they say they do. Which is the exact same thing. I said, if Pookie and Ray was, or actually the guys that you love or the boys that you love, how come motherfucking little black boys at 64% can't read at grade level? Why is that? If you love them so goddamn much. In other words, don't give me this bullshit. In fact, you pound it because I got sick of this shit. It's sickening because really, like you said, it doesn't exist in the real world. So why are you coming together with these fucking narratives? You're not even chasing the same group of women, which doesn't make sense. So now why? So why are you? So why is so-called the educated brother or the classic man talking about Big Booty Brenda? You're not even chasing the same kind of women. And plus, there's a shortage of I actually told him, I said, if you look at the educated class, right? I'm just calling it educated class because you can't differentiate between degrees, right? Okay. There's 1 million more educated women, 1.5 million more educated black women than educated black men. There's a shortage already. There is no shortage of women. That's a myth. There is no shortage of women. Now, if you talk about how a woman looks, which is distributed throughout all the different classes, now if you talk about 8s and above, what we call an 8 is less than 10% of the group. So there's a shortage of those. There is a shortage of dudes that make over, $100,000 or $150,000. Dudes that make over I think it's $120,000 are in the top 5% of all 5% of all black male earners. When you actually calculate all the black males, because half the black males don't make any money, then they're in the top like 3%. The top 3%. And basically, when we read articles online like from Ebony or The Root or whatever new rag it is educated black women complain about educated black men 90% of the time. Colorism, all that shit flows from them because they're the ones that are not getting picked and they're pissed off about it. So, and basically they're the ones that stir up this shit. And then the women at the bottom that want to move up into a different class and can't because you dudes aren't picking them, then they're going to throw rocks at them. So they're the ones that are going to call you lame or you can't, I prefer Pookie and Ray, which is probably also bullshit. It's because you can't get those guys because there ain't enough of them. and basically, if you look at the imbalance because of the way that that this gynocracy functions in the Black community, women are actually doing them own selves a disservice. Like Michael's always saying, how come you don't raise raise your boys to be the type of men that you screw? It's because women period don't look at their sons the same way that they look at the guy they're in love with. They're gonna raise a boy to be supportive, not to be sexy. And since you live in a matriarchy, you can't balance that out, because they're going to push the girls, because naturally they're pushing the girls to be dominant. I mean, I just read the Medium article where a Black woman talked about she didn't do floors. Her grandmother didn't do floors. Her mother didn't do floors. She doesn't do floors. She doesn't want her daughters to do floors. The men have to do the floors. That means putting women in a dominant status over their men. And that's been going, I've actually documented, that's been done since slavery. It didn't just start. So basically, this is a cultural flaw that has been denoted from Frazier to Du Bois to whatever to Monahan, and it's all the way up. It's been noted and still being noted. The thing is, what are you going to do to correct it? And the only people that can really correct it is the Black women. The Black women have to decide what kind of Black community you want. We need to point that out. Nope, you run it. Stop the bullshit. You run it. Because I know a lot of guys want to use their pride that Black women don't run the Black community. Bullshit. I said, you run it. Stop with that bravado. You know they run it. Make them do their goddamn job. There is no. They
may run the community. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No, because BJ's time is limited, so I just want to make sure he answers the question. What does the Third Wave Black Manosphere mean to you?
The Third Wave Black Manosphere means basically number one. What if it was to me? If I had my druthers, okay. Number one, completely every Black man completely swallow the red pill and know the truth. And if I had my druthers, which I don't think is going to happen, is to actually embrace the Black pill, which be amoral pragmatist, do what the fuck works. Well, but that's not going to happen because very few people can actually swallow the Black pill.
What's the Black pill?
Thank you for that contribution.
Basically, the Black pill is
supreme indifference.
No, what's supreme? It's not indifference. It's pragmatism, extreme pragmatism, devoid of morality.
Which also balances,
which is Batman,
which balances a little bit on nihilism as well.
Nihilism, basically, you can be. It's a difference. It's the thin line between Batman and the Joker. They're both amoral pragmatists, and one has given up on humanity altogether, or society altogether, and one still holds on to that. If I can work hard enough, I can actually make this thing we call society work, and that's the thin line between the Black pill.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Well, that would be the reason why it would be advantageous, I guess, if we were to use that metaphor, to actually be the Joker, because the Joker is the wild card essentially. And if you've determined that this is largely in the hands of Black women, well, look, ye have little faith over here. So I will do, and this is kind of what I'm pushing with regards to the third wave. Mm-hmm. Like, you act on impetus, and you do what your talents point you to do, and you don't consider the disposition of the women folk in that regard.
You have to. You have to. Okay, well, because who produces the children? Who produces the children?
I personally ain't having anymore. So I mean,
you personally, we're not talking about it. We're not talking about an individual thing.
Well, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
If it was an individual thing, I've already made my children. I'm a grandfather. I've already done it. The thing is, this is as a group.
Okay. Well, but what I'm saying is this: like, there's what I'm going to do as an individual, right? How that impacts the group. That, I guess, that's going to largely be dependent upon the decisions that Black women make. This is what you're telling me. So what I'm saying is that I'm not going to hedge anything if it's in their hands like that. it's not advantageous to me to hedge on any decisions that they're going to make.
If you're gonna be inside the black society, yeah, it does hinge on it, because if it doesn't impact you, it's going to impact your child.
Okay, but if we're also to follow like the scope of what we discussed here on this channel here, which is the fourth industrial revolution, then when I'm pushing a narrative for brothers to be more global minded. So how you can matriculate global wealth back into the community, but you have to be global first. And that's what I mean. It's like if we're relegating the decision making to women, okay, well, you've given an in-depth history lesson on the black matriarchy, right? Ye have little faith. So
yeah, I have little faith about what.
Then. So the smart.
No. Explain it. Ye have little faith. What does that
mean? In black women making any sorts of decisions, right, that are actually going to change the course of what's going on. That's
not what I said. That's not what I said.
No, I'm telling you, I don't have any faith that they'll actually do that.
Oh, when you say ye, that means me.
No. Well, I'm speaking colloquially, right?
Oh, ye means you. Okay.
So I have little faith.
Okay, thank you.
I have little faith, right? Okay. And so what I'm saying is that the smart decision would be to actually act on impetus and do what you feel is going to be the most productive means for you to pursue. Okay. And in light of waiting for sisters to make some sort of decision about changing like the direction of how black society moves and operates, good luck with that. I don't think that that's a smart. I really don't think that that's actually like a smart. It's a smart strategy.
It's going to happen anyway because how women move, how societies move, how culture moves is by the environment that surrounds them. As that changes, they'll change. They're already changing, as I predicted 2 years ago. They're already changing.
Changing how?
They're coming back to the middle, the extreme, because basically feminism is going to fail, and they know it's going to fail. So they're coming back to the middle.
Right
So what?
No, they're coming back to the middle because they ain't got no more options.
Exactly. So
that doesn't change.
All right, one at a time. You both can.
Go ahead, MOT.
Okay.
And I got less than 5 minutes.
All right, BGS. What I'm saying is,
you guys can't talk all at once.
They're going. Let MOT go first.
No. Let MOT's going to go. MOT's going to go.
All right, BGS. What I'm clearly saying is that just because they're coming back to the table doesn't mean that you take them.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I never said that.
All right. So
I never said that. In fact, I told that to Obsidian. Was it 9 months ago? I told him they're coming back to the table. He didn't think they were. I said, well, when they come back to the table, what are you going to do? Now it's time for you to make the decision.
Okay.
Busy.
Yeah, and I was go ahead, MOT. Go ahead.
Nagon can tell you. I said this 9 months ago, more than 9 months ago.
No,
we definitely spoke on it, and I was going to say, a lot. Yeah, they come back to the table because also a lot of brothers are stepping up and are walking off.
And
the numbers are proving it.
Yeah,
so rightfully so. Absolutely,
rightfully so. And I've been telling the women for the longest that the days of what they call segregation are long gone, and basically you have to compete not only I told this to black women, my group of black women. I've told them that you're gonna have to compete for your men. You're gonna have to compete not only locally, nationally, but also globally with your men. And basically, you can keep on. I can tell them you can stay on the same bullshit that you've been on for the last, I would say 100 years, but that's just not gonna work anymore. But the thing is that you do that at your own detriment.
For sure, that's for sure.
Like I said, BGS, I know you have to run.
Real quick,
BGS, I know you have to run, but yeah, definitely. We gotta. Brain Trust has to come to to your hangout and actually talk about the Mueller report.
The Mueller report. I've read parts of it, but I haven't even read it. So, but you can talk about it. I haven't even read it.
Yeah.
Any bullet points you guys want to give me before I run?
There was some
on
stuff
the Mueller
in
report,
there.
or
on the Mueller report.
Yeah.
Oh no. We'll get to that. We're gonna focus on the docket for tonight.
Okay. All right, you guys.
All right.
Thanks for coming by.
All right, peace.
Peace.
No, MOT, I follow what you're saying.
Anybody.
I was just going to follow up with MOT. I follow what you're saying. I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, you come to the table, but you cards have been shown already.
Yeah. So,
you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, all right, well, whatever.
I mean, the whole point of 3-card Monty is the cards to be face down, not face up. You just can't come back to the table with expired goods and claiming to be black and that, oh, save me. Like, no, you want me to rescue the matriarchy, and that is not what I want to do. I want to build this way with things that are fresh. I don't want expired things. People think it's a good idea that that the people who have been messing up is coming back to the table. I'm like, dude, I don't have any faith in any of these people, their decision-making processes or anything. I don't want any of this shit.
And I got to be on record as saying this, dude. Like, my fucking intelligence is insulted.
Yeah.
Like seriously. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
To bring this around to the manosphere, what we see in the future of the manosphere.
Yep.
Let's say they come back to the table, but as men, we got to stop talking about women as like, okay, they coming back, ooh, whoop-de-woo. Am I allowed to take the filter off my mouth?
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Listen.
Yeah,
we're men. Stop fucking talking about women like this. Come on. Stop the shit. And when you see yourself talking about it, stop it.
Check yourself.
We are talking about the future of the manosphere. And like I just said, the definition of the future of the manosphere is we are going to talk about things that will progress men, black men, forward. That's the reason we're talking about space and technology on Mondays, geopolitics on Wednesdays, and economics on Fridays, and IT and technical on Saturdays. We're not talking about women constantly and ad nauseum. Stop it. We're talking about things that will sharpen our swords. We're talking about things that we can take and say, hey, okay, the hangout is over. Let me go to this site and start this class. Let me go here because MOT gave me some information on a certification that I can get with the government, and I can get this thing started. Nowhere in there are we talking about women. Stop it.
Yeah.
Don't have this conversation go over there.
I get it.
100%, bro. I agree with 100%. If the women want to show up, they show up and sit down, shut up, listen.
Yep.
The conversation is between us.
Yeah, I mean, this really gets back once again to the whole self-development piece. And when we talk about the manosphere, I looked at this thing 10 years ago. We now, we've gone through release 2.0, which I have to say, the critique that was coming out from the manosphere, from brothers, and really going in, I found it very effective. What I also found was, as soon as some of the ladies started to wilt and started to say, okay, hold on a second, these guys, they're coming up with some strong points. I don't know if we can really fight this anymore. We started going in on each other in some very negative ways. And now we're talking about self-improvement, and here we are once again going in on each other again with a lot of black male fuckery, if you will. So we've got to make up our minds as to, do we really want to develop and move this thing forward, or do we not? And I think this is really where we are, and keep it as simple as that. As far as I'm concerned, any real debate about women and all the other things, there's no debate. That I think that's been done. I think really it's about us and our development. We do have class issues. We have guys that are on the Pookie and Ray class online, and then you got the educated men online, and folks going at each other like this, and not really getting together. It seems like there's a split also of the more brothers who tend to be a little more intellectual, brothers who want to talk a little bit more about development and handle themselves with a certain level of decorum, and then a whole other class of just rancid jackal men running around acting fucking insane. So the question is, how are we, really going to, this new release, if you will, how are you really going to pull this thing together where we really are beneficial to one another with respect to information. We can also begin to talk about even having certain types of events that could really benefit each other as well. How are we going to get to that? You know, I think that's what we're really that's what I'm really more concerned about than opposed to some of the other shit that's going on. And I think this is what we have to really start to look at.
Well, you know,
More
Nicole, it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because we have actually posted or hosted some tech summits, you know, things of that sort. You know what I mean? It's funny that you mentioned that. And yeah.
And I'm saying with all this in mind. You got to understand. You got to follow me here. I know about it. We need to build a lot more on things of this nature. I mean, channel like this should have a lot more views. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about politics and maybe talk about, you know, technology. They don't want to talk about, you know, some of the things that are really, you know, business and current events, and that's very important. I know it's not as sexy, you know. It's a lot easier to talk about ladies and men and get into that whole rigmarole, and it gets a lot more views, generates a lot more money. So I understand some of that, but as a manosphere, we're gonna have to start to look to make some choices here. I mean, as to what direction that we want to go in.
Who did not go that wants to go?
Follow.
I think y'all about covered it all.
Yeah. So the third wave of the manosphere for me would be clearing, you know, putting a line in the sand as to who's about what and what is the you know, the future objective of what we're trying to cover. So we already laid out our blueprint for the you know, for the Black Brain Trust, and you know, you can go through all our episodes, our past episodes, all the way back to day one. We just don't talk about women. It's just one of our things. We're more focused on the technocratic side of human development and social development. So that's why we focus on space technology and geopolitics and economics and other auxiliary topics on the weekend, because that's our mindset. You know, I think women are a part of your goals, right? I mean, you set a goal for yourself and you reach that pinnacle. You know, something's gonna pop off at that time, regardless of who or what her background is. You know, something's gonna pop off. So we don't really put too much emphasis behind that. And I think what's happening now is that we're starting to set the standard and set a benchmark for where thinking Black men need to be. And if you don't reach that sort of benchmark, you know, we kind of don't take you seriously for the most part. You know, we talk about self-improvement. The channel is really structured around self-improvement as well, right? So we give out the links, we give out the you know, to EDX and Udacity and these other educational platforms. We talk about social equity, development of social equity, various other areas that are about being pro-Black and being proactive and being progressive. That's the focal point of this third wave, right? And if you're not talking about that in the manosphere, I can't take you seriously. We can't take you seriously for the most part. We just won't engage you.
I sure as hell won't.
Fair enough.
All right, let me get to the next item on the docket, which is what should be the future role of the Black man in the 21st century. Anybody want to take a crack at that?
Yeah, I do. I think we just need to come out of the shadows and start moving up in these tech fields, and having a more be more technological labor than we currently are. I mean, I know there are people who are working on certain projects all over, but I just want us to, like, boom, math, science, technology is where we need to be at, rather than working for some company. Hopefully there's like a Black company that would, you know, be out there, so that way we can put everything under one umbrella, because we've created a lot of good stuff, man. It's just that we're not getting paid off of our ideas. We're just pretty much making other people rich. So pretty much that's the direction that we should go in, and actually take a lot more control over these manual, like blue collar jobs as well. This is where I want us to move from like the service sector, leave all those low paying jobs that's going to be disappearing soon to those other groups of people, and we just need to move up somewhere else, take a higher stance for Black men. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes down to us really just taking initiative. I think the opportunities now are there's still great opportunity out there. It's great opportunity, not only just here nationally but internationally as well. Great opportunity. We just need to really start to the Black man in the 21st century has got to begin to take some initiative, take a lot more initiative. We both and we've been creative. We've taken a lot of initiative in the past. That's something that we're capable of doing, but we really have some unique opportunities now to really expand in ways that I don't know if it was as open as it was, say, 60, 70 years ago, but it's certainly open like that now. And I know Mike and a lot of us, we talk about the complex and so forth. We do talk about the fourth industrial revolution. This is here. We can lose that opportunity as well, but we have to take initiative. And I think everyone, if you're tutoring kids, you're raising kids or doing whatever, you gotta push taking some initiative out here. And like I said, doesn't mean you have to take advantage in the super high tech jobs, because we were just talking about. I was on a hangout before. We were talking about CDL jobs, and and how AI technology and so forth is going to be getting involved in that. And how, if you're on that road there with that and you begin to integrate with that as well, just being a CDL driver could put you in a slightly different position, take advantage of some opportunities that others may not be able to take advantage of. We have to be thinking like that. We have to start taking advantage of opportunities, taking initiative. I think that's something we've always talked about, taking advantage of that. You have to press that. We have to talk about that consistently, drum that into it, talk to people about doing that every day. And I think that's just something that we can't slack on.
Anybody else?
What was the question one more time, please?
What should the future role of the Black man? What should be the future role of the Black man in the 21st century? What do you think?
Okay. All right. Well, per this channel, we keep referring to specific things that will play a prominent role in the future. These technologies, these things, these other fields that will be going on in the future. Some fields will be cut out, such as redundant lifting boxes. Those will be cut out. No longer are the lessons that was taught to us from older generations, no longer are they relevant today. Not because there was bad information, but because the world has changed. And so with this channel, we're trying to keep Black people and Black men abreast of these changes. We're telling you what's coming forward. We're sourcing our sources. We're telling you what's going on. We're keeping you up to date on these differences. So now we're saying, okay, we're giving you a ballpark painting of what the future is going to be. We're saying the future is going to have this, 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 and this. These are going to be the major components of the future. In order for you to get on the ground floor of those major components of the future, you need to learn this. You need to know this. Not only do you need to learn and know this is where you can learn and know it. We give you the edXs. We give you the Udacities. There's a lot of other websites such as Skillshare, such as Brilliant.org, that you can take and have a drip of information right now, starting from right now. Have a drip of information day after day, as long as you input time day after day. So when you get your certifications and you become familiar and you start to listen to our shows, interact with us, and interact with these lessons that we tell you where to go and learn, you'll be ready for this future. You'll be ready for tomorrow. Because if not, what's going to happen is you keep doing the things that was taught to you from a yester world. Those won't apply to a future world. The next thing you know, you'll be in the middle of, hey, I ain't got no job. The economy turned. I can't get my last job back. Oh, such and such is not hiring. You'll be in a bad situation. So the future black man needs to know that, hey, tomorrow is coming. It's going to be different than it's going to be different than today. Therefore, I need to be abreast and know how I can prepare myself in order to hedge against me not being ready for tomorrow. And that includes knowing this fourth industrial revolution techniques, such as all the technologies we talk about, all the things we talk about. That is the future of the black man, um, and that is what we talk about on our channel. That's what I see.
Look, I think we need to prioritize the what is the Zennials. You know, I think we need to make a more concerted effort to have them shout themselves out when they come on, not just our channel. Hopefully, that can spread around the manosphere. You know, we need to know who they are. You know them. Better what's going on with them, and especially if there's a Zennial that's in a field that older brother's got some. He's established himself in that field. We need to be proactive about making connections with the Zennials to help pull them brothers up, because it's really going to come down to them. Their move is going to set up the race.
Yeah, let me say something. I think we have the capability of getting the job, getting the education, educating ourselves, and getting the job to support our families. But one of the things that we ought to focus on is actually leadership. And when I say leadership, I mean in determining the direction of not only our family but the world. Because as we can see today, if you look at the U.S. economy, unless something worldwide happens, some worldwide catastrophe, the U.S. as a nation is going to go like Rome. It's going to go like England before it, France before it. And who is going to step into that leadership role? Right now, it's open. China is fighting for it. Russia is fighting for it. Everybody's fighting for it. But it's not, if you look at history, it's not normally the strongest that get it. The people who are on the bottom take out the top and they get to lead. Right now, we are the ones on the bottom. That article that Complex put in there, I want to read a couple of lines from it. The Negro claims the Negro claim to the job is not being met. Negroes are the hardest hit of the many groups being exiled from the economy by cybernation. Negro unemployment rates cannot be expected to drop substantially because our unemployment rate is already at the top. And it says promising jobs are cruel and dangerous hopes on hundreds of thousands of Negroes. When you read this article, it will show you this thing was written in 1964, and they knew this was going to happen to us. They had the opportunity then, but guess what they did? They killed off all the leaders. So we got to be looking at leadership, not just the job. While we want to get the job and we want to create, our own businesses and all that, we got to look. Hey, I want rulership.
That's my birth year.
Anybody else? Anybody else want to chime in on that question?
That's it.
I would just say,
All right.
I would just say that the role for black men going forward is to basically uh, step into the position of being a global thinker, right? Think globally, strive to become a global citizen, do things from a global perspective, especially business. Too many of us just largely think about, our immediate hood, the city, the state, not even the countrywide, not even countrywide so much, but just their immediate locales. And you have to expand way past all that shit and get into thinking from a global perspective. I'll just keep it short. That's all I want to say.
All right. My 30-second take on that is that we have to we we have to be at the forefront of the fourth industrial revolution in all leadership roles, as well as all innovative and developer roles. That includes blockchain. That includes being very knowledgeable on cryptocurrencies, cloud computing, autonomous vehicles, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and infrastructure from a civil standpoint, as well as digital standpoint. So that's my take on that.
And stock trading.
The next
and investing.
The next item on the docket is why it is important to gain our own power and what to do with it. I think that came from anti-gravity. Why it is important to gain our own power and what to do with it. Anybody want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, I would. It's more important for us to. Now, I promise you, I'm not talking about women here, but it's far more important for us to establish our own power and our own family dynamics that supports our particular things that we're trying to build. Because trying to build in the current environment is only going to be a net loss for most black men. So most black men have to understand what the marketplace is like and what it's going to be like for future generations. So that's why you have to pick and choose wisely whenever you're getting into this marketplace of creating a family that's actually going to support men as much as women be supported in the current system. So that's why it's vitally important to make sure that you establish your own power so that way you can protect your gains throughout the generations that you're going to have. So that's why this is what you do with the power, because if you try to create it in the current system, you could be on the outs and your legacy can be gone in a couple short generations. So that's why I want people to create things that's going to last a very long time and not depend on the whims of possible non-participants to carry on your legacy for you. So
I agree. Power, with power, you need to protect it. If
yeah,
you know as a black man you're living in an environment, whereas if you get married, there's a 50-50 chance, more than a 50-50 chance that you will be divorced. If you know if you have children, then there is an incentive for the person that you have children with to leave you in order to take your money and to take your wealth, to take your power, because money is a form of power. Then knowing these things, speaking with men that know the field, know the positions of the chessboard, and now we have to figure out a way how to protect what we have, how to go through this chessboard. If we know that if we get with certain people, then there's a likelihood that that won't go well. We need to police each other. And yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I was speaking about, okay, Donna Will mentioned that it's easy for us to go from the middle income to back down to the lower income within the same generation, the same person, the same lifespan. So when we get to the middle income, what floors can we put that will ensure that we will A, stay in the middle income level, and B, progress upward? That's what we need to focus on. What floor? What constitutes that floor that we can, if something happens, if we have a job, we get laid off, if we lose a little money, what can we fall back on to constitute that floor that, hey, I'm still in the middle income? Is it investments? Is it business? Is it skills? Or is it all of the above? And if it's all of the above, how do we get them skills? How do we know what to invest in? Like Dollar will say, technical analysis at the, or at the very, 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 very least, fundamentals analysis, skills. Where do we go to get these skills? These are the things we must focus on to ensure that we protect ourselves first. Because from us black men, we have the power in order to change our communities, not the other way around.
Wait, are
So
you sure
that's,
you don't have to wait for the matriarchy to?
man, fuck that matriarchy, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and we
That's
gotta
what
also Lionel, we gotta create a a culture of support,
yes.
so that because it's sort of like when we gotta end that thing of rooting for the failure of the black man. It's like we kind of like mock a brother for being too ambitious, and when he fails, we're like, see there, we gotta end that. We got to cheer the effort and cheer the preparation and cheer the effort. And when they fall, help a brother up, just kick them back out there again.
I agree.
Hmm. All right, the next item on the docket
Oh, I'm
is
sorry.
where
Okay.
does
Go ahead, Mike. I'll wait. I'll do it later. My mind is dragging tonight.
okay. All right, so the next item on the docket is where does the manosphere go from here, or does it continue to circular topics about women and other low priority subjects? I think we kind of touched on that, so we could probably skip past that. And the final piece on the docket is when will we take control of our direction from the fools that not control the narrative? We are in a cycle of dysfunction with sex as the prize, and it's leading to nowhere, just circular or circling the drain.
Can I just take a quick stab at this one?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Just a little bit of perspective is in order here, right? The main purpose of sex is like reproduction, right? I get that it's pleasurable, but let's not forget that the main purpose of it is for reproduction. So if we can kind of just roll with that, and just kind of slightly alter our approach to that, right? To where we do the casual, pleasurable thing in a safe manner, right? That's just kind of like, rule number one. And then, number two, you relegate the more riskier stuff for like, if you're in a marriage situation and you're trying to procreate with somebody, right? So if we can kind of just start with like rudimentary things, I think that like, just kind of like, again, it's just a change in an approach to things, because I don't really think that, I think if you start to view things in a more like common sense, like other things kind of filter out. There's a lot of shit that really doesn't make any sense to me, that really kind of makes up a majority of the quote unquote discussions that are had. Again, we've already dispelled the myth of an educated lame, right? So how there's like like if I were to add up all of the 8-hour hangouts that had to do with educated lames, I mean the total of hours would be in the thousands, right? But we just dispelled that the shit doesn't actually exist. So that means that there were thousands of hours spent talking about basically nothing, right? So I mean, we kind of just need like a wholesale sort of re-terraforming, like of our concepts, man, and sort of how we think and how we act and be. I know that's a tall task, but that's my take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think just to tie the last two questions and kind of weave in what Ulysses just said, if you don't control your sex or your sex desire, sex drive, you can't control your money. Because if your sexual desire or sex drive is out of control, it will ruin your money. So those two things kind of go together. And I guess I'll make this one fit in where it gets in. We gotta fix our relationship with capitalism. There's no way around it. You know, we have this disdain for capitalism. Capitalism not gonna go away because you don't like it. You're gonna have to conquer capitalism, or capitalism gonna conquer you. So you don't have a choice. You in this fight. So you're gonna have to learn how to conquer capitalism. And in my perspective is you can only have three relationships with capitalism. You are the laborer, you're the business owner, or you're the investor. I believe that we need to be at least two of those three things in our lifetime. So get busy.
Agreed.
Okay, since nobody else wants to go on that, Complex wanted to actually hold off on the global
Yeah.
initiative until the end. So let me bring that up. Share my screen. Yeah. Anybody seen this in the chat?
Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, I can see it. Okay. All right. You know, is it showing on the other screen? I don't know if it's showing on the. Oh, okay. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. All right. So basically, what we're looking at, this is a visual representation of kind of like the sum total of our discussions, right? If we were to kind of put it into a chart, or we were to kind of put it into a graph or some sort of visual representation of how what we discuss, all of the various aspects from education down to industry, down, you know, all these various aspects, and how we speak about geopolitics and all of that. If you were to kind of put it into a chart, this is basically what it would look like from a business perspective. Okay, so a lot of what we discuss in terms of geopolitics gives us some insights into creating global initiatives. So again, we start to think globally. That means that we have to understand what's going on in the world, right? So we do the geopolitics hangouts. That's basically our weekly recap, you know, and also our weekly forecast of the things that go on in the world. And a lot of that stuff ties into the space and technology hangouts, right? Which, when you go down into the second level, we're talking about things like trade and infrastructure. Okay, from an international objective standpoint, and then from a domestic objective standpoint, we're talking about policy and infrastructure. Okay, so we talk about social equity, we talk about opportunity. The opportunity zones? We talk about all these various things. Those things would fall in line with the policy and infrastructure, domestic objectives, things that take place here. Also, the international objectives, when we talk about trade, when we talk about cryptocurrency, we talk about, we talk about China, right? And you know, the position that they're going to be taking as a global superpower and as the world's supplier, right? Those discussions fall in line with the second level. And then we go on down to the third level, right? So sometimes we dig deep into things that are going on in specific states, in specific regions, and what goes on there. And we speak about, the economies there. We speak about the geopolitical climates there. And all of these things filter into tech and resources in Asia, Eurasia, Africa, and the Arab states, and infrastructure, trade, as well as brain capital. Because we do talk about, the amount of educated people on the continent who don't necessarily have a vehicle to really truly exercise that knowledge that's been gained. So there's a lot of brain capital that exists on the continent. In Europe, it's mainly global finance. So we're always talking about, the euro, who's leaving the EU, who's partnering with China. We just spoke about Italy, establishing some ties with China, making its own trade deals. Now you've got in the UK, Nigel Farage and the Brexit Party, who's actually, their party is leading the Labour and the Conservative parties in the UK. So a lot of global finance as it pertains to Europe. In the Americas, again, social equity, real estate, business, technology, again, opportunity zones, so social equity programs as it relates to the hemp and cannabis industries. And then, yeah, business and tech, app development, fintech, all of that, and the islands and the territories. So these are resource acquisition and infrastructure. Okay, so this is to give you a visual of how our discussions actually play out. If we were to look at it and say, okay, how do I take the information that I get when I listen to the Brain Trust, and what can I do with it? Okay, so again, you could reference the chart. You say, okay, well, I'm really into cryptos. Okay, well then look on the chart and find where cryptos comes into play and where your area of interest is. This is a good way to synthesize, to better synthesize the types of the information that we cover and the discussions that we have. So I wanted to create this chart here, just kind of like as an aid to our discussions. And I'll have to maybe put it on a drive and then make the image available for people to download if they want it. But just using this chart, it'll make it easier to dissect a lot of the discussions that we have, and you can kind of place things in your mind based on the flow of this chart.
That's dope. Thanks for posting that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. We can give our closing thoughts. Nagone, are you with us?
I'm with you. I got somebody here messing with me for a second, but yeah, I'm with you. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, blink twice if you need help. Blink twice if you need help.
I'm okay.
You need some ones?
Joe.
Man, come on. Oh my God. Woo. Y'all going in on a brother. Nah, man. I just want to say, first of all, this hangout was highly butter laden. I can't front of highly butter laden. This was you guys were laying it out. As far as me really adding up a lot more to this, no, I just think we really want to talk about this next level of manosphere, if you will. I wouldn't like this to come back here a few years from now and see that we're talking about the same shit. I think we would like to move some of this forward. I'm big with this tech stuff, so I'm fourth industrial revolution, all that. I'm down with it. I'm down with the investment game, real estate, stocks, bonds, the cryptos, the whole game. I'm into all that. We need to get as knowledgeable on that as possible, because I think there's going to be a lot to be gained there. Certainly that is the wave of the future. From the crypto standpoint and so forth, we definitely need to be up on that. And we just need to keep disseminating really good information, and get more and more people involved in these conversations. And let's steer away from some of the more useless stuff if we can. I just want to be very clear also, as far as talking about relationships, talking about the men and women in relationships and all that. That is important. Ultimately, building families, if we're going to move forward, that's important. So those conversations are important. Talking about men and women in the relationship business, that is important. We can't sit down and ignore that. That is. But I think we should put that in the context that where it's used to kind of benefit everything else that we're talking about as well. So all that encompasses. If we're just talking about just being some Joe Line dude running around trying to bang as many hoes as you can, I think we've beaten that horse or to death and running behind these thoughts. I think we were done with that. But if we want to talk about, you know, things that are going to really build families, help to build relationships, get a relationship game together, I do think that those conversations are certainly worthwhile, and we should have them as well. But you know, let's not put all our emphasis on just, you know, talking about women and not looking at the much bigger picture that's involved. Is this business, community? You know, these are the key things that we need to talk about, and really developing ourselves. Very important that we really get into that. Really talk about self-improvement, self-development. Critical, because that's the crux of our issues. We get that together, we will have a lot of our issues beat. I'm done.
Anybody else have any closing thoughts on this?
Yeah, I want to say that, you know, anybody that's really basically over here in this space, the Brain Trust, you know, not just on the panel, even in the chat, you know, if you're regular in the chat, none of this should be a surprise to you. You've been an outlier, you know, most of your life, chances are, you know. So, you know, some conversations or some ideas that you have is just, you know, not for public consumption. You know, a lot of things that are important to you, not important to them, and basically, like most of the time, you're not important to them. We're not important to them, okay? Unless you're providing something. So, you know, you know, just stay the course. Unfortunately, it's not going to get any better, but you know, we got to do the work anyway.
I came to the Manosphere via I came to YouTube looking for a way how to publish videos about travel. All my videos from Brazil and Africa and India and everywhere else I went, I was trying to find it. And through that, I stumbled on to, of all people, Tommy Sotomayor. And from there, it's like I ran into BGS a couple of years ago, and then Black Brain Trust. And it's like somebody has led me here for a purpose. And sometimes that's how you get your education. And for me, you know, it's an improvement. Even though I got the so-called education, you know, I studied accounting and electronics, but this here is like pointing me in a direction that I thought I was going in alone, but I ran into so many people who I said, man, you know, these people got the same ideas. So I stayed here. And the longer I stayed here, the more people I'm meeting with the same process, the same thoughts. So you gone 1 year, Michael Linnell. Well, everybody else, Man of Tomorrow, he's doing the same thing. He's got channels, Nagolis. You know, all you guys are doing what a lot of people are thinking of, but they haven't run into you yet, like I've run into you. So I'm happy to be here. I'm glad I ran into you guys because there's some things I don't know yet, and I'm still learning now. So thank you. Glad to be here.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't.
Emil, do you have anything?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just telling people to stay the course and protect your gains, man. Don't worry about nobody else's situation but your own. You gain power for yourself and you distribute it among the people who you choose to distribute it with. The old arguments of the past, these people are going to come up, they're going to want all this help and assistance. Dude, dude, leave it be, man. That's not yours. You protect your own gains. You're on your own path now. You're a separate person from all that other stuff. So long as you keep focused on the prize, which is self-improving, so that way you don't have to deal with these domestic choices, you're going to be just fine. You should not let the cries of those people even affect you at all. They had their time, and now they're going to suffer the consequences. But you're not, because you're going to be moving forward. That's all I got.
Yeah, I was. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Complex.
Oh,
Go Go right ahead.
Okay. I would just say, make a conscious effort. Make a conscious effort to recognize what you're putting into your head, right? The kind of concepts you subscribe to. It's real easy to get sucked into an argument about something that doesn't actually exist. So I'm saying use your higher mind. Think about what is being discussed. Think about what you give your time and your attention and your focus to. Like critically think these things, assess these things for yourself. And what you'll probably find is that you'll immediately start to make certain changes. And change is always good. So that's all I want to say.
Can I double dip? I was just short. If anybody's out there on the chat and you think you got, have something to offer, by getting on the mic and sharing with the manosphere, we'll scoot over. Step up.
Yeah, as we went past, we went talked about the manosphere in the beginning. First, it was men coming on and discussing topics. Therefore, it was a platform for us to get our topics out. It was a platform to reach out to other men. It was a platform to discuss other things and tell each other what we're going through, confide in each other, and build each other up. And it worked. Then it was tore down. This is that platform again. But now the platform is, we're purposely creating a platform to be stronger. And we're purposely, not only this platform, but other platforms, the people that take part in this, bringing their intellectual expertise in order to teach, talk, and guide all Black men that come to this platform, the central platform, which is the Black Brain Trust, and tell you all, hey, this is what this is, and this is how to do it. And so we're purposely creating this platform in order to get that point across and purposely build up Black men stronger than we did the first go round. When we didn't do it purposely, it was a more of a, hey, this is going on. Now we're doing it. Now we're purposely doing it, and this is that. This is what the platform is for. The purpose of the platform.
All right, so I think that's it. My closing thoughts are, will basically echo everything that the brothers on the panel have already stated. I definitely think that we have a long way to go in terms of the manosphere itself, and that's why these discussions are very important to have, so that we delineate where everybody stands, and especially where we stand. We definitely don't support drug dealers on our hangout, or convicted felons and human traffickers and all of those other, very rogue, people, frequenting, certain platforms and leading off panels and things of that nature. We just don't do things like that here. We're cut from a different cloth, and it's not looking down our nose at them. It's more about setting the tone for where we stand. We're a very ethical group. We cite all of our sources. We make sure that we're disseminating the information not just for our own purposes, but for you as well. We want you to win with us, and not just us win and then haha in your face. It's more about creating a different image of Black men. If you look at the thumbnail on the hangout for tonight, those brothers are actually all professional brothers. I got that from I think Instagram. All these brothers in that picture are either doctors or engineers or something like that. I know the lead guy is an actual doctor. So it's incumbent upon us to actually change the image of Black men. Kevin Samuels, the image guy, he pushes for Suit Saturdays. that in order for black men to change their image, you know, we also have to change our image, you know, intellectually as well. So with that being said, thank you all for joining us, and have a good night.